Welcome to the iCorps Experience.
My name is Brian Pratt. I'm a strategic technology advisor for iCorps Technologies. I have worked with the company since 2010, so about 14 and a half years. I started out as a associate technology and systems consultant, and I've worked my way up through the ranks, pretty much done everything from support desk all the way to where I'm at today. I've been a strategic advisor since 2016. So virtual CIO is one of those roles that I fill. It's not an official title at iCorps. It's a role that our strategic advisors, some of the strategic advisors do fill that role for our clients. It's a slightly different role than strategic advisor. A lot of that comes down to the scheduling cadence. Our strategic advisors are generally scheduled in 4 and 8 hour blocks. They're highly technical resources. They're folks that have worked their way through from lower level consulting to where they're at today. Think of them like a high level architect versus a virtual CIO is more geared around high level guidance for companies. The cadence is a little bit different. We try to schedule those in 1 hour blocks throughout the month. So it's more touch points with the client, generally fits with the needs of growing clients or regulated clients where they might need that high level guidance that the other positions that we have don't really provide. In the traditional sense, in the MSP world, a virtual CIO is typically more of an account manager. It's someone who's checking the boxes for the client, and they're providing recommendations that are solid recommendations, but they're generally selling services that the managed service provider is pushing. The difference with iCorps is that our virtual CIOs are really working for our customers to drive value and drive whatever technology program is needed for that customer, whether it fits the portfolio services that iCorps offers or not. Obviously, we want to introduce our portfolio services before we branch out to other items, but ultimately it comes down to driving the technology programs that meet the needs of each individual customer. And it really is just that. Every customer needs are different. It's the highest level of a technology advisor that you're going to find. Very much how large corporations have a chief information officer. That is the role that we fill for our clients. So industries that we work with, I mean, at the end of the day, we really work in all the verticals out there. I have worked in a number of verticals. I've worked with manufacturing, warehousing, distribution, financial services, construction, architecture, restaurants, private equity firms, hotels, you name it. I've most likely worked in that industry. As a virtual CIO, right now, my client mix is between financial services, hospitality, restaurants, and some manufacturing companies as well. Technology is technology. There's certainly nuances around each industry, but at the end of the day, to come in and fill that role, the vertical doesn't matter so much. So each industry obviously has its own individual challenges. Financial services tend to have more regulatory compliance concerns. Manufacturing can have that as well. It really depends on what sector you're in as far as where the real high-level guidelines go. Technology is technology, and the true need is we want to fit whatever technological solutions are out there to your business. If that means that we need a new ERP system for your manufacturing firm, we're going to work through that whole process. I may not be an expert on ERPs, but I'm going to work through hand in hand with the rest of your team. And a lot of what I'm doing is actually translating from tech speak to plain English so that the executive team and the stakeholders within the company understand what they're getting. Versus when you're working with a network engineer or a systems engineer, they're going to be highly technical and they may be able to translate some things, but they're not seeing big picture. At the vCIO level, it's big picture thinking, it's big picture conversations, it's high level roadmaps, and it's translating and connecting people, ultimately really connecting people on the tech side to the business side and whatnot. And as far as the vertical goes, that doesn't change a whole lot, but there is a little bit of experience in certain areas that helps. Financial services, there's certain tools that they all work in. Hospitality is the same type of thing. On the hospitality front, that's probably where I have the most hands-on experience. There's 10 or 12 different vendors out there for any particular product on that. So vetting those products, making sure that they fit what the company's needs are, that's a big part of the role. I think one of the biggest technology trends that we've seen over the past couple of years, and no surprise here, is artificial intelligence. AI is a buzzword that's been running around, and I shouldn't really say buzzword because it's here to stay. AI is that next generation of computing platforms. It's going to be integrated into everything that we use in the future. Something as simple as a podcast platform like what we're working on today, to ERP tools, to purchasing tools, to you name it, AI will be integrated into just about everything. So that presents a unique challenge because I think some of our other podcasts have talked about the challenges and the security implications of AI. So my role as a virtual CIO is to not only vet that tool to make sure that it meets the needs of the business, but also take a look at it from a security sense and use the resources that we have available at iCorps to make sure that the solutions that we're putting in at our clients, whether they're iCorps recommendations or something that's come organically from the industry, meet those needs and the security needs of the clients. Developing what an ROI is for a tool or a system when it goes in, obviously, face value, the easiest way to do that is cost savings. That said, not all the time are you going to see upfront cost savings. Sometimes what you have to do is figure out, okay, how much more is this going to cost me? For example, I have an architectural firm that I've worked with for several years now, where when we went in, they wanted to take their computational platform and put it in the cloud. They wanted to make sure that their operating plane was the same no matter where you work. In the office, out of the office, they have these growth plans to be nationwide at some point in the near future. So when I ran up all the numbers, it didn't make financial sense at face value because it was going to cost them 3 or 4 times what a traditional computing platform would to go into a virtual desktop environment. However, the ROI calculation for them came down to retention and attrition of their employees, also the ability to work from anywhere. And this really proved its point through COVID. When COVID hit, this particular company just closed their office, went home, took their laptops with them, and they kept working exactly the way they were when they were in the office. So it really depends on the system. I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, the simple ROI calculations is how much money am I going to save? And, at what month am I going to save money? Sometimes that's just not the case. You can't break that down. So now it comes down to, okay, how much time am I going to save? Is there some manpower savings here? Can I potentially displace an employee or use them for something else? So we look at all that when we're evaluating technology solutions. The most valuable portion of a virtual CIO is the vast experience that we have. We've worked in a number of industries. We see a number of clients in a given month. We've worked on projects. We've worked on, you name it. We've worked on something that may have impact on your company. We're very good at translating technology to plain English and explaining why we need to do things a certain way and using the resources available to us. Think of us as an extension of your team and not just a vendor that you call when something breaks. We're there every step of the way. We are helping you vet your technology solutions, make sure you're getting the most out of your technology solutions, and making sure that your technology solutions are secured. And in this world today, security needs to be top den center of everything that we look at. So surprisingly, the biggest technology-related challenge working with clients or any business in general isn't the technology itself. It's actually that people don't communicate. What I've found going into clients is that if you've got multiple departments, each department works like it's its own silo. They go and find their own technology solutions for their needs. They don't check with their peers. They don't check with management. They don't check with IT a lot of the time. So that truly is the number one challenge of how we bring everyone into the same table and talk about technology. And hey, marketing might have a need that engineering has a similar need for. And how can we find the same solution to meet both those needs and integrate it in the entire full stack services that we're handling from IT, deliver excellent service, secure it, make sure that it's used in the right ways, train people on it, all that sorts of stuff. That's truly the biggest technological challenge that we have today. So prioritizing what order we need to go in for technology solutions. A lot of this comes down to the client needs individually and what the client's risk profile looks like. Pretty much everything breaks down to either an ROI or a risk mitigation. I'm going to take a look at everything that's on the table, every challenge that we have, and prioritize those based on that. Am I going to see a quick ROI on something, or do I see significant risk in doing or not doing something? And that's how I help prioritize what direction we need to go in. Security initiatives are always top of mind. Sometimes that's hard to articulate to clients in particular because businesses see technology as a cost center, not a revenue center. And everything that we put in, security or technology, the two of them really combine, it's a cost center, but it's how does this mitigate our risk? How does this reduce our costs? How does this make us more efficient? And how does this align with the company's goals? So that's really where it comes down to on how I'm going to prioritize what initiatives I'm targeting first. So I think it's no surprise that cloud-based solutions are here to stay and are the first go-to for just about everything that we put out there. Anywhere I can, I'm trying to fit within a software as a service model. SaaS models are incredibly flexible. They're scalable. They're cost-effective. As your company grows, as it shrinks, we can adjust the model based on that. Hopefully, the company's always growing. Sometimes you do need to shrink down. In the traditional sense, when we're talking about on-premise server infrastructure and legacy applications, a lot of times those don't scale well. So whenever I'm looking at a vendor for any type of solution, I'm going to the cloud first to figure out, hey, is this viable? And if it is viable, what does it look like? What's the costing look like? What's that growth look like? Microsoft 365, for example, there are certain tiers of licensing within there that if you're over a certain number of seats, you have to jump up into an enterprise plan. But we're evaluating all that as we go through and pairing that with the company's growth plans and also pairing it with any sort of regulatory or compliance needs that they have as well. My core competencies are a lot of it's around the Microsoft 365 platform. From a technical standpoint, I'm incredibly well-versed with messaging platforms, Microsoft Exchange, Microsoft Teams, email messaging as a whole. I know one of the big initiatives that we've been pushing and a lot of cyber insurance companies have been pushing over the past several years has been DMARC compliance. So that's an area that I'm incredibly well versed in. Also, you don't see it on the certifications behind me, but I'm also RedSIFT certified, which is RedSIFT is a solution that iCorps sells for DMARC monitoring, among other things. Outside of that, you also see an ISC squared certification behind me. I hold a CISSP, which is Certified Information Security Professional, and a CCSP, which is Certified Cloud Security Professional. So security from a functional security standpoint is another one of my expertise areas. About, I'd say probably 2 years ago, we were brought in to help out a fairly large high-end resort, 343 rooms in this resort, multiple different room types, and they had just gone through a transition from their old Meraki wireless network to a fully managed Ruckus network with a third-party provider. Not something that iCorps had installed. They worked through a hospitality consultant that got them in touch with a third party that designed up a whole new network and swapped it out. Through the process, they had some challenges with hardware availability. So they were doing the projects as parts were rolling in. They'd get 20 access points and they'd go to a section of the property and they'd stand up those access points. They started running into some issues when they were pairing these new access points with the old Meraki access points, and they had spent weeks trying to troubleshoot this. And this is where my big picture thinking came in. I stepped in, I walked the property with the third-party company along with the executive team from this client, and we walked through everything, started to identify what the issues were, and just really worked through from back to front. Okay, what changes have happened? When do we start seeing these issues? What's the symptoms truly look like versus, hey, it's easy to say Wi-Fi is not working. What's not working? Are we being disconnected? Are we having trouble getting out to the internet? Are people not able to associate with the guest wireless name? And what we found out actually was that the Ruckus access points and the Meraki access points were fighting with each other. And they were ultimately trying to cancel each other out. which was preventing people from connecting to the networks, or they'd connect up and then they'd move around their room, they would disconnect. So once we figured that out, we retooled the whole project plan to make sure that anywhere that we were installing new Ruckus access points, we could do it wholesale. We weren't piecemealing it anymore. It was, you know what, let's hold off. The Meraki stuff's working well. This is just a next generation update for the property. So let's do one building at a time and make sure that there is no overlap where there could be conflicts. What really differentiates iCorps from other consulting companies out there, and I've done this for, like I said, I've worked for iCorps for 14 and a half years. I've pulled in clients from a number of other MSPs. I've worked with clients that have used other MSPs for their help desk and their day-to-day operations, and I've just been their virtual CIO. I'm in an engagement like that today, and I'm actually working with that client and their third-party vendors to make that relationship stronger as well. And I think that's truly what sets iCorps apart, is most MSPs are going to come in and say, you need to be on our stack of services, whether that be Microsoft 365 and a certain license set, certain antivirus, certain remote management tools. Remote management tools are something that's going to be MSP specific. But if you're not working within the stack of services that MSP is used to working in and resells, a lot of times you're being shoehorned into their solutions, or you're in a model that they just can't support. Whereas iCorps, with our Encompass programs, you get your help desk, which is good for the baseline programs and baseline support, but then you also get dedicated consultants that are on your team. They get to know your business, they get to know your challenges, they get to know your technology stack. We shadow consultants in that process as well. So you usually have a team of 3 or 4 primary consultants, and then you'll have 2 or 3 additional backup consultants that will get to know your environment over the time that they're working with you. And from what I've seen, this is not something that most other managed services providers out there do. Most of them are staffed remotely. Again, they're looking for a specific set of services, specific set of technologies, and they don't look at everything. They look at your core services, your server environment, your Windows Active Directory, your Microsoft 365. They're not looking at your third-party tools. They're not helping advise you on that new ERP solution that you're trying to bring in. They're not looking at how everything integrates. Again, they're just core systems, core security, and outside of that, that's where they leave it.
Thank you for joining us for the iCorps Experience, your ultimate resource for cutting-edge IT and cybersecurity insights for your business. Backed by 30 years of expertise. Follow us on LinkedIn to stay in the know and catch the entire series on our YouTube channel. If you're looking for more personalized guidance, iCorps' award-winning managed services and consulting team is here to help. Contact us today to learn how we can support your business growth. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time on the iCorps Experience.